Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show in your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Hello. Happy Thursday to you all, whether it's morning, noon, or evening. I'm Marla Goldberg, creator and host of Guided Spirit Conversations podcast. Before I go on to introducing this week's guest, I do want to ask for prayers to go out for my niece, Sarah, as she is in the hospital waiting to find out what's going to happen with her heart. She was supposed to have a stent put in yesterday, and they couldn't do it, and now they're trying to find alternative therapies that they might be able to use with her. But any prayers, love, light you can send would be so greatly appreciated. And I thank each and every one of you. Okay, on with the show. So today we have back Dr. Lynn Anderson. I'm going to remind you, Lynn was on our show in August, and we had so much to talk about. I don't even think we chipped the tip of the iceberg. So we brought her back for more. Dr. Lynn is a naturopath, yoga nutritional therapist, fitness professional, karma master, published author, international speaker, and video producer. She has over 30 years experience in the field of natural health and fitness. She's been featured in Redbook, Reader's Digest, Huffington Post, Shape, Self, and various other national publications, TV networks, and podcasts. Dr. Lynn is the author and producer of the Soul Walking series, which has episodes about karma, prosperity, vitality, and and I'm not sure if this is part of the Soul Walking series, the Naturopathic Wellness series, the Yoga of Nutrition and Recipes for Health, Sex, Happiness, and Love. Those are great combinations. And Dr. Lynn's Proactive Aging Workouts, which are on DVD and TV with natural distribution. She is also the CEC author of Burnout, It Happens to Us All. Lynn also conducts online classes and therapy classes. And let's welcome Lynn back. How are you?
I'm fine. It's so nice to be back with you, Marla. We must have had a great time because we're back chatting again.
We did have a great time. And as a matter of fact, I remember telling Bridget we have to get you back because there was so much more that we did not even really delve into. We might have just touched today. You do these things, but we didn't talk about a lot of them. And what's beautiful is the fact that you help people to age gracefully. And that's the way I look at it. Because many people get stuck in their eating ruts, their non-movement ruts, etc. But yet you are bringing it to another level so that when you can age gracefully and be healthy throughout the aging process. Is that good?
Yeah, I just taught a class this morning. I have my class. I teach at the local hospital here, Sarasota Memorial Hospital, and it's women that are mostly, I would say, in their 60s and 70s that are in the class. And the thing that really they come back is because I remind them that even if you can't do the whole class, do modifications, do something, get up every day and do something to move your body. That makes your body healthy, but it also improves your mental outlook on life. And when you are mentally up, you're naturally going to age much better than if you're down. It's a fact. That's a scientific fact.
That's so true. And, I was talking about my niece and she deals with a lot of depression, anxiety, overwhelm, blah, blah, blah. Those are the factors that you don't have to live with, in my opinion, and B, that will really bring your aging quicker to you because of the fact that, the energy you're bringing in is not healthy energy and the way you deal with it.
Well, I shared with my class too this morning what in my yoga class online, we're working on the obstacles. There are 9 obstacles that karma presents us with. And the one that we're working on now is the one that's called feeling heavy and burnt out. And that's a real obstacle to being healthy, to being successful, to being happy in life. And I remind all my students that in the end, all of this stuff that we're going through adds up to zero. What that means is you don't take the dramas and the problems and the stresses with you when you depart this world. But what you do take, you take with you the compassion, you take with you the understanding, you take with you the love that you give and you receive. And we get so focused on the problems and the dramas and think, oh, that's what my life's about. Karma is telling you that's simply an opportunity to learn to practice compassion, to learn to practice understanding. So you're absolutely right. The depression and the anxiety, and which is very prevalent today in today's society, really isn't. It's nothing. It adds up to zero. You're not taking it with you. Let it go.
Right. And live a good life, because we're all meant to live the good life. So what are the other 7? You said there were 8?
Well, there's 9, but I
9.
can't repeat all 9 of them because then I'd be giving away all my classes.
Oh.
But I'll give you another one of them. The first one, which is probably the most important, because all of them fall in line after that, and it's called ill health. And what that means, and what karma means, it means that ill health is an obstacle to living a full and vital life. So if you know that's an obstacle, do everything you can to prevent having that obstacle in your life. And that always comes right back to my naturopathic background, which is, the 3 pillars: nutrition, exercise, and sleep. I mean, we forget that the most important thing in our life is our health.
Yes.
And that's kind of down on the bottom of the line of what we take care of. We take care of the bills, the kids, all this stuff, when really every day your very first focus should be your health.
And if you don't focus on your health, you can't do anything else. So you can't do it easily, because your health will then control how you feel, which will control all the movements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and make it really challenging. So
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And so if you think about that, that is probably the biggest major obstacle we all have in our life that affects everything. Because when you're sick and you're ill, it's going to affect your family. It's going to affect the way you live your life. It's going to affect your job. Nothing has any meaning when your health is gone. And it's like your niece, and I'm sending out, she was saying this morning, one of my things that I told everybody is send out some kindness today. So I'm sending kindness and good energy her way, that it all works out for her, because, that's a very hard place to be. Very hard place to be when you're, in a hospital and you have to face something like that. But I know she will persevere.
She will definitely persevere. And as I talk about a lot, is that it starts outside of us. Illness starts energetically way out there, and with repeated negative, faulty thoughts, negative self-talk, all the things that limit us, it starts breaking through all the energetic layers till it hits your etheric body, which is a complete duplicate with your physical body. And I remember we're having a debate, she and I were having a debate, and it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. It's like, yeah, it does work that way. And there's so many ways that you could really stop whatever's going on with you midstream by just starting to take responsibility and action in a more positive and healing way. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. And I would say that, the one thing is people understand, if you can stop for a moment and say, I'm not taking this with me. I'm not taking this drama with me. And, the drama we may be caught up in today, or the argument with someone or whatever. Do you remember the last, you don't remember it 2 days from now, it's gone. You know what I mean? So our energy gets all gnarled up in this situation, and then it goes away because life changes. But you are absolutely right that, we are energy, we're just an energy field. And, the molecules that make up our physical is just that part of our energy is moving at a slower rate. But we've got higher, the aura and everything else is moving at a higher rate, and it absorbs, and it ends up in the body.
It does. And I think, if you knew that you could control this and stop having this happen to you, then maybe take steps to be happy and joyful and grateful and kind and compassionate. And then, and mostly for yourself as well as others, because you have to take care of you first. That's that whole oxygen mask analogy that we talk about all the time, coming down. Take care of yourself first, because if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of anyone else. You just can't do it.
That is absolutely correct. And, but we live in, especially as women, as women, we're supposed to sacrifice, and we're not supposed to be selfish, and we're not supposed, and, that goes along, being a mother and goes on and on and on. But if you don't have that, what are you giving to your family? So we have to learn to love and embrace and take care of who we are first, and then take that energy. If you take that same kind of energy and then you start spreading that out to your significant others and your family and your children and your grandchildren, however, that's great energy going out.
It's incredible energy going out. And not only is it incredible energy going out, but when you receive that energy, it feels amazing. You start feeling giddy like a child, just giggling.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I know. I have a 4-year-old granddaughter, and my granddaughter and I are, we're like little kindred spirits. And, it's the same thing. When I see her and she's healthy and she's happy and she sees me and it's grandma and it's a big hug. I mean, this is just a joy I can't even explain. It's just an energy. And that's what we want in life, those moments of joy. Because as karma teaches us, we spend most of our time as human beings destroying joy. I got a problem, this is wrong, and then media's at, and everything is like so heavy, when it would be, the more you are joyful in life, the more energy you have, the healthier you are.
I don't know, Henny Penny just came to mind. The sky is falling. And everything that happens, like, oh my God, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. No, the sky's not falling, and everything's all okay. And just allow yourself to breathe through whatever's going on. It takes 90 seconds to breathe through an emotion, especially a negative emotion, because the positive ones you want to keep around. It's the stuff that affects you negatively that you want to let go of as soon as possible.
Oh, so true. So true. And you're right. A breath. If everybody stopped just in the middle of the chaos that's going on around them, because we all have chaos. I have chaos around me all the time. If you just stop and you just take that breath, it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, it does. And it calms you down and it grounds you. And then you start feeling more centered, and you can think and make decisions more clearly because your mind is clearer.
Yeah, well, oxygen is a nutrient. We need it as much as we need the vitamins and the minerals. We need it. We need it to live. And it is a nutrient that feeds everything in our body. Every cell in your body requires that intake of oxygen and that release of toxic energy. So, I tell my students, you're feeding yourself. When you take a deep breath, you're feeding yourself something really wonderful.
I love that. I think that is so beautiful. And this is why health is more important than love. Because without health, how can you love? How can you love yourself? How could you love another if you're constantly not feeling well?
That's correct. Yes, you need that in order to put that loving energy out there. And again, like you said, it comes all the way back. I mean, when you love yourself, and that's not narcissistic. That means that, I appreciate my body. It's more that I appreciate, what my body can do and where I can go and how I can think. And since I appreciate that, I want to take care of it, because we do take care of what we appreciate.
Yes.
And that appreciation then goes out, and that appreciation is how we show love to other people, right?
And to ourselves.
Yep.
And we need to love ourselves first before we can really, send it out to somebody else. And people say, but you have children. You have to love them first. It's always the oxygen mask on you first. You have to take care of you first. It doesn't mean selfish. It's healthy. You're doing healthy things for yourself so you can do healthy things for those you care about. And it's a way of showing how much you care in this month of February, the month of love. And then you show others how much you care about them by you taking care of you.
Well, yeah. And if you think about, let's just say children, for example, a child is much happier and much healthier if they're raised in a home where mom's happy, mom's laughing, mom's smiling, mom's playing. Mom has a life of her own, because what is she teaching? She's teaching her children independence. She's teaching her children good things, and children mimic what they see from their parents. And what if you really love your children, you want them to go out being loving individuals, loving themselves and independent. That's really the
Yes.
best gifts you can give to your children.
Oh my God, isn't it beautiful if we could see our children having self-confidence
Yeah.
and self-esteem and going out in the world and having empathy and compassion for another,
Hmm.
and offering that up to them, on a beautiful platter, invisible may it be. I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than to see that. And everybody then gets affected. It's like we've been talking about this, and I say we, my friends and I and my colleagues, about that movie. I think it was with Penelope Cruz. I don't know if it was called Chocolate. I think that's a different one, but it's the same concept where what you put into the food is ingested by those eating it. So if you're happy, they eat happy. If you're sad, they eat sad. If you're angry, they become angry. And it's what tends to go on, and it's sort of wanting to teach people to do things with the love first, with the joy first, rather than the resentment, so that's what goes to all you're reaching out to.
Right. Well, we live in a material world, and we get focused in the material world, and we can't see love in the energy. We can't see the energy that's out here that's impacting us. And we have to kind of get away from putting too much emphasis on the material world and get a little more out here into the metaphysical world, and realize that, exactly like you said, and that's part of my naturopathic health series, is that when you're preparing a meal for someone, prepare it with love. Don't eat a meal that, if someone's angry, that energy goes into the food. It
Yes,
really does, because everything in this universe is connected. It's called synergy. Everything, there is no disconnects in the universe. Energy connects to energy. And it's important that when you prepare a meal, or someone prepares it for you, that it's done with love and care. And you bless it. Be
it's
blessed.
right. So true. And that's why I always bless my food. But you don't know who's preparing it, what they're going through. If you're dining out, you don't know what's going on with them as they're preparing food. And is this just, this is my job and this is what I have to do? And they feel drudgery and anger or resentment about it. Well, guess what? It's going into your food, folks.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you also, that will carry through, if you're really into it, that'll carry through with the waiter, it'll carry through with everything, and you can tell. But yes, you're absolutely right. That's one of the problems with eating out, is you really don't know the food,
Right.
you know.
Or what's energetically going into the food. I mean, you might get the list of ingredients, but that's only one compartment of what goes into a recipe.
Exactly. Is the food fresh? Does the chef really care about keeping the kitchen clean? Those are things to take into consideration. And whether they're putting too much salt on it, or it's all of those kinds of things. But again, if it's prepared with a deep caring, and a respect for what you're doing and what you're preparing and giving to someone, that's the way to do, well, everything in life, if we could do it.
It's true. That would be the ultimate
Yeah.
thing. So there are three pillars of health. Let's talk about the three pillars and why they're important.
Okay. Well, if you look at them, they are the foundation, because without good nutrition and exercise, and when we say exercise, yes, it's good to go to the gym and lift weights and everything, but exercise really means moving. We evolved as a moving species. We did not evolve sitting somewhere like a slug. That's not who we are, And so it's important that humans move their body, that we get up and move. That's how the muscles and the tendons and everything stay strong, in the bones. But then we have to also make sure that we eat the proper nutrition, because your body doesn't operate unless you give it the right fuel. So
Right.
it needs fuel, it needs movement, but it also needs rest, because sleep is also a nutrient. When we go to sleep, that is when the body and the mind, the brain has an opportunity, as I say, to go in and clean up all the mess you've made throughout the day. Goes in. It's like, okay, I'm putting you on sleep mode, and I'm going through your body, because that's when melatonin, which is an antioxidant, goes in and starts to clean up all of the damage that you've done throughout the day. That's why it's so important.
Yes, I'm so agreeing with that. And I'm going to add a fourth pillar, and that is water. Please drink your water if
That's
you can.
part of the nutrition is, yes, and water is
Yeah.
important, because we do need to stay hydrated. It's very important. And it's important that you kind of eat in season too, and understand that when you're eating foods, nature is miraculous. Mother
Yes.
Nature. She says,
Yes.
okay, wintertime's coming, for example, and I'm going to produce all the squashes and potatoes. That's what's got the heavier stuff. That's, of course, to put on a little fat on your body for the cold. That's as we were evolving. But skin gets very dry in the winter. So what are those foods? Those foods are full of vitamin A, and they're full of the good fat that supports your skin. When we go to the summer, nature comes and says, well, let's make all these melons and all these nice fruits out here. And what do? Hydrate the body when you need it hydrated. We just, we think we're smarter and better than Mother Nature, but, she's got it. And she's in control.
Definitely in control. And the other thing too, when you're talking about, this is an Ayurvedic, am I saying that properly? Ayurvedic way of eating, is to also know that Mother Nature, I mean, it's so important for you to listen to what is in the cycle of fruit, but people are just so hedonistic in the sense of, I just want what I want. I want my ho-hos, my Twinkies, my Oreos, my fried foods. They fry everything these days. Cheesecake, ice cream.
Twinkies.
And I think everything is okay in moderation as a once in a while. But when you do that as a regular basis, you are not eat like you're talking about with the season, you really do a detriment to your body, mind and soul.
Well, your whole being, your being needs nutrients. Your body doesn't care what you eat. It doesn't go, well, I'm going to have chicken, I'm going to have it doesn't care. All your body cares about is that you get the vitamins and minerals in there and the elements that come in and work to support your body. All it cares about, because the body really operates off vitamins and minerals, the antioxidants. It doesn't care whether you get it from chicken or you get it from chickpeas. It doesn't care where you get it from. It just wants you to put those nutrients in. So if you starve the body and you don't give it any of those nutrients, it's got to take from somewhere. Something's got to break down. It's an engine. That's what you are. It's an engine, and it needs the right fuel in there. And so I always, when I work with clients, I always start out with, you have to eat these things to support the body, and then eat all the junk you want afterwards. You can eat all the cookies you want after you've given the body what it needs. Of course, the idea behind that, once you've given the body what it needs, you're pretty full. And once you get on that track, you don't want to eat the junk anymore. So
it's so true. I'm like such a cheerleader to this conversation because I agree with you. And as you were saying that, it's like, yeah, because once you eat all the good stuff, you're not going to want anything else. And if you do, you'll only have a small percentage of what you might normally have. Just something as a finisher. I call it a finisher.
Right. Well, it's like the Buddha taught, as well as, yoga, philosophers have taught. Once you get on the health path, once you truly get on it, it's really difficult to get off it, because you get on it, you feel so much better, and it becomes a lifestyle thing. So, it's like I would not sit down and eat a bag of potato chips. It's just not in my lifestyle. I'd rather have fruit, or I'd rather have a salad. And it's just because, I don't have anything against potato chips. It's just not something that's in my lifestyle. I eat that healthy lifestyle. And it's really just getting on that train.
And I do love that they're having more health-based snacks for people. meaning vegetable chips rather than potato chips. And God only knows, I would like someone to please explain to me what sugar is doing in a bag of potato chips. When you look at the ingredients, when they put sugar in it, it's like there is no need for sugar. All of these vegetables, potatoes, they have their own flavors unto themselves. They don't need additional sugar to sort of like, addict you in
Exactly.
to
And
it.
everything has sugar in it. That's sugar molecule. You and I have sugar in us. Every living thing has sugar molecules in it. You're absolutely right. You don't need to add sugar and salt and preservatives, but you do need to if you want to have shelf life that lasts forever. I mean, you can take, and we'll use Twinkies. We're going to beat Twinkies up here, but I believe a package of Twinkies, if you don't open it, it'll last your lifetime. I mean, what
Yeah.
does that tell you, the shelf life of something?
Well, it
That
tells you
tells
that
you.
there's so much stuff in it that
Yeah,
that's not good for your body.
exactly. It's got to be pretty disgusting what you're putting in your body.
When you think about GMOs too, I mean, look, I understand that organic food is really expensive, and it can be hard and expensive to follow that, but you do it to the best of your ability without feeling guilt if you just, you pick this instead of that, and so you might take a little bit less, but at least for you and your family, it's going to give you clean fuel.
Well, and that's one of my things, Marla, is that I really would love to see tax, 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 tax the junk food and take the really good food and make it accessible to everybody because
Like that.
everybody on this planet deserves to eat a decent meal. They really do. I mean, that's basic humanity, that everyone deserves a decent meal, a roof over their head, and to be warm. I mean, that's basic. And yet,
Yes.
what do? The organic is expensive, the fruits and vegetables expensive, but the chips are cheap and the cola's cheap. And, we're just feeding that problem.
Yeah. It's funny. I was watching on Facebook, all these people were posting about how expensive eggs were, organic eggs.
Yeah,
It's like, oh my God, it's hard to believe that, a dozen eggs are costing $9 a
yeah,
dozen, which
yeah.
is insane
hmm Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
thinking about that.
Right. And an egg is such a great protein. There's so many different things you can do with it. And it makes you step back and you say to yourself, how are people going to manage? How can they manage a young family with a couple kids? Because, kids eat a lot of food.
Right.
And, it really is, it's very sad to me. I think when there's so much wealth with so few people in this world. I'm not trying to get on a soapbox here, but then people aren't allowed to eat healthy. We
Right.
have we have a humanity problem here, you know, because first and foremost, everybody should be able to have a decent meal in their stomach. That goes without saying.
And this isn't a modern invention, of keeping those who don't have, those that are not in the 1%, 3% in wealth, keeping them down. This has been going on from the beginning of time,
Yes.
really, where the people with money want to acquire more money, more power, more, and not care that their people, the other people around them, can't eat or stay warm or stay healthy. And I'm so with you on that conversation, because yes, it would be great if there was a way. And also, not that we shouldn't help other countries, but let's take care of what's in our backyard. Let's
I'm
make
with
sure our people are taken care of before another country.
I'm with you, ma'am. I'm with you so much there because I just got back from Puerto Rico. Went down to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is part of the United States. It may be a territory, not a state, but it's part of the United States. And you go down there and you see the poverty and you see the devastation. And you look around you wherever you go, you look around and you say, you know what? We have problems at home. We have severe mental health problems. That's one of the biggest problems I believe we have that we are not tackling properly, because offshoot from that is drugs and
Yeah.
crime and all of that kind of stuff. But you're absolutely right. But you know what? It doesn't make money. Wars make money,
Yes.
and especially if you can fight them on somebody else's territory.
wars, dissent at all. Yeah. And and it also thins out our population. I'm sorry to put it that way. It sounds callous,
It does.
but I mean, it's the collateral damage, which I hate that term because it's not collateral. People losing lives by helping by fighting for your country is
Mhm.
not collateral. It is, but it is a loss.
Mhm.
It's a loss to the family. It's a loss to the energetic support of the world, the planet.
Right. Well, I'm a very anti-war person, have been my whole life. And my views are, it's just my opinion, but I think the US sticks their nose in too many places where they shouldn't be. And it would be really nice if we really took care of, I agree with you, what's going on at home.
It's true.
Let's take care of our people. And that doesn't mean that we don't do humanitarian things for people in the world, because there are. And I'm a very fortunate woman. I've traveled the whole world, and I have seen oppressed people, and it's very sad. I mean, we do have it even better. We have better in this country than most countries. We really do.
I agree. I agree. And like you, I'm pretty well traveled.
Hmm.
And you want to help everyone, but again, you have more strength if you help the people in on your land, so that then they can be strong enough to help others on other lands.
Absolutely. And if America needs to be, U.S. needs to be very strong to be peacekeeping in the world. And as you said, when we're flourishing, we have so much more to give out to other people, and not in terms of let's go start a war somewhere or let's go join a war somewhere, but to help people have housing and children have schooling, which is really important. And
Yes,
especially women, that women don't get oppressed and not able to educate themselves. Those are the things that are important in this world.
I agree with you 100%. Lynn, let me ask you a question. I'm going to change directions again. What is going on with you and your practice that you can talk to the audience about? What are you, do you have another book coming out? Are there classes that are coming out?
Mhm.
What's
All of my classes, the Soul Walking series, which is primarily the Karma, that is broken down into a 6-part series, which is going online as a 6-part. It'll be live, but it'll be recorded, so someone can catch the recording of it. So that's happening. I just finished 6 sessions of health, which is all about naturopathic health. So those are 2 things that are really going on right now. My focus is really getting those moving in the right direction. And then I have another place that I'm doing a 3-part series, which is on burnout. It happens to all of us. So it's all about what burnout is, how to heal from it, and how to prevent naturally, rather than going to your doctor and getting some kind of drugs, but a natural way to be able to approach that. And my idea behind that is that, burnout, when people experience burnout and they retreat, there's this awful feeling that, God, I'm the only one in the world that's failed, that's depressed, and it's important to know that it happens to everyone. Happened to me. I know what burnout feels like. We all know, and it's not something that should be hidden, because it's really a mental health issue.
It is. And I don't, the United States again is known for driving the employers driving their employees, really hard, lots of hours. And I think COVID, the one of the beautiful things from COVID is that people learn that they have to do some self-care.
Hmm.
And now they're coming out of COVID and people are pushing them to go back to the way they were. And they're like, I'm not doing that.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I moved to Sarasota, Florida right in the beginning of the pandemic. But prior to that, I lived in Los Angeles. And I can tell you, I was fortunate because my office was right nearby, and I didn't have to do the commute later on. But when I first got to Los Angeles, I had to commute. And, you would spend hours in traffic,
Yes.
stressed, and people found out during the pandemic, wait a minute, I can get my work done. That hour that I spent commuting, I can get more work done. I can also get the kids back and forth where they have to. I can balance everything, my personal and my professional, and everything comes together so much better, and it just was wonderful for many people, but there is that push now to get people back into the office.
But what I love is that people are now speaking up for themselves, and they're fighting for
Yeah.
themselves, and they're fighting for their rights and saying, no, I'm not going to, put in 80 hours a week,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know?
that's not quality of life,
No,
and you can, after a while, money and buying things, I mean, that you reach a point where it's like, what's more important? Time and health is far more important than, driving a Ferrari and having a big diamond and a mansion somewhere. I mean, that's important to some people. To me, I want time, because you know what? In the end, that's all I've got. All I've got is what time and what I do with it. That's the most important.
I love that. It's so true. It's it's really important with what you do with it. So check out Dr. Lynn's website at drlynn.com. And there's no E in Lynn. So it's doctor spelled out LYNN.com, and see about Lynn and what she does and her classes and all the other goodies that can be found on the website. And it's going to be in our blog with all of our other links. So let's talk about karma and love. Is love karmic? Do you create karma from love or from lack of love?
Karma simply means cause and effect. It means that you're here to work through your karma. And karma is going to put you in the situation that is going to bring that to the forefront. So an example of that would be if you may come into this world and maybe you have bad relationships or you're in a bad marriage. And it's very easy to blame the other person and get a divorce and move on, and people do that all the time. But there's a pattern there. And when there's a pattern there, there's a message there. And the message is that you need to step back and you need to work on yourself before you get into a relationship with someone. So to answer your question, karma is not love, but you can create love. It can be the effect of what you cause. So if I'm really kind and loving and trustworthy and dedicated to my husband, that's what the energy I'm putting in, then the effect of that is going to be we have a good marriage, if we both are putting that in.
Right.
But if I'm looking at him and I'm resenting him and I'm being angry at him and all of that stuff, the effect's going to be I'm not going to have a great marriage. So it's important to think about what do you want, where are you going, and how you're going to get there.
I like that. You have karma yoga. Like, there's something with like you do karma yoga. What is karma yoga, first of all? And then what are some of the obstacles in karma yoga that people need to work through to come out the other side to reach success and happiness?
Well, karma is a branch of yoga. It's a philosophy, much like I studied Kriya Yoga. Kriya's philosophy is balance. There's bhakti, that is the karma of love. There's tantra, that's the sensual, sexual. But karma is a branch. And its whole branch is it's really a very practical guide to live your life. That's really what karma is about. Karma yoga, the yoga part that we bring into it when I teach karma yoga, is I always have a karmic lesson for my students, and then we do a yoga class, which is with the physical poses. The reason for that is, and in all of yoga, is you and I can intellectualize all day about what it feels like to be balanced. But if I take you into a pose, a tree pose, and I'm going to hold you in a tree pose, you really have to work to find your balance. You have to find your center point. You have to focus. You have to be there. You have to be aware. And you have to understand that life's not always going to leave you with both feet on the ground. Things are going to come along and, it's a metaphor, but, you're going to have one foot on the ground and you don't want to topple over. So we use the physical poses I integrate them into the lesson so that at the end of the class, when we finish up and we end the lesson, they have worked it through physically rather than sitting for an hour and discussing it.
Oh, I like that. I'm a yoga teacher training student, so I'm loving to hear that, and it makes so much sense because when you were talking about the tree pose and standing on one leg, I was driving to Georgia this past weekend, and the wind would just sort of like every once in a while you've had that heavy wind and your wheel moves over and it's like, oh my God, and you grasp it harder and move it back in the lane. That's what that reminds me of. That was what came to me when you were talking about that, because it's the balance, it's keeping in your lane.
Well, the yogis understood that, humans got too much, we call it chitta up here. Well, you're all over the place, you're here, there, you're all over the place. And if you can come down and say, okay, we're going to work on being flexible, because you need to be flexible in this world because everything's constantly changing. And if you get really stuck and stubborn in one place, you are going to break. You're going to snap and you're going to break physically or mentally. So the yogis understood that, well, if we really want people to understand this, we've got to take them and quiet the mind and get them into feeling it on a physical sense. Be present, because you can't properly do a yoga class unless you're present.
It's so true. And you'll know, not every day you're going to feel the same way. You might be off balance on when you're holding up your right leg or your left leg, or, but you just, when you pay attention, you can then say, oh, this is where I'm at today, because we change on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And as I tell my students, don't judge. If you're wobbling in the tree, don't judge, observe. Have you connected to your center? Did you have an argument with someone this morning before you came to class? Are you stressed out? Are you here? And so if you start to observe those things, then rather than judge, we tend to judge. We jump in and say, oh, I'm terrible at balance. No, you're not terrible at balance. You just have to find your balance point. And it may be, I can get my leg way up and hold a balance. I've been doing this for a long time and I'm very flexible. And I tell my students, I'm very flexible. That's where I find my balance point. But that doesn't mean you find your balance there. Find your balance where you find it, and you've got it.
Oh, I love that. Find your balance where you find it. I want to take a pause. It's charity shout out time. Love to talk about the charities of my guests. Yours is NAMI, the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization, NAMI, NAMI.org. So let's talk about NAMI, what it is, what they do for their clients, and how people could help.
Well, primarily what they are is they're a family support system. And one of my yoga students was the president of this organization back in Los Angeles, and they had a big convention and he asked me to come and speak at it. So I kind of have that connection there. But it was really a support for people who are going through, people have family members that are deeply depressed, schizophrenia, anxiety, suicidal attempts, that kind of stuff. Because what happens is we focus on the person with the mental health issues, and by all means we should, but sometimes we forget what it does to the family and and the support that the family needs to keep going. And it really, really is important to be able to support them. So that's really what it is. It's a place where you can go and you can get information and you can find people who've been down the road you're going down.
Is this just a Los Angeles charity, or is it not-for-profit across the nation?
Across the nation. It's a national organization.
Nice.
Yes. And I'm a big, I believe that the biggest problem that we have as human beings is mental health. Because if I look at everything and I step back, all the shootings and all the bombings and all that stuff, there's a loss of mental health there. Because nobody in their right mind who is mentally sound and grounded would do so horrific things to themselves or to other people. And, every day we are reminded that we have a mental health problem. And that leads to drug problems. And, it goes on and on and on. So I hope that that's something that people really, support.
Yeah. And it's also got people, it's beyond that, because it goes into self-abuse, abusing others.
Yep.
abusing animals, which I never understand because they're so helpless.
Yeah, that, or children, or old people, or, I mean, it's just beyond me. But also, it's hard to understand, the whole mental health process until you've been down that road with someone. And I have been down that road. My stepson has schizophrenia, and we've been down that road with him. And it's a very, very tough road to go down because, you have to be there for them, but then you also have to be very strong because the manipulation and the drug and all of that happens. So and we don't have in this country really good support for these people who are homeless, drug addicts, and with these things. We don't have good support for them.
And it goes back to what we're talking about, like, let's work on the people in our own backyards.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Let's take care of the biggest problem we have here, which is our mental health problem. Let's get that, and let's take care of people and get our people on the right track, But
Whatever
but you and
that
I were
means.
people, it's like, but the more we speak, the more people hear this, and the more, people, and you never know, what movement could come out of it.
Well, it just takes how many movements took with one person and then somebody else joining and then the next person, and next thing you know, you have a group of very powerful people turning things around, changing things, making a
Yep.
difference.
Yep.
So it could start with one, but
Yep.
it just is something that just needs to be continually talked about and
Right.
making people aware of it. Sometimes I feel people are so entrenched in their own stuff that it's very hard for them to look outside and be concerned about what somebody else is experiencing. And that just has to do with compassion and empathy.
Absolutely. And that's what karma yoga is really about. It's about being able to step back, see things, observe things, and then practice compassion towards yourself and towards other people. Because sometimes you can encounter someone and they're angry and they're not even aware, and you have to bless them and not engage with them, but remember that not everybody is evolved or aware of what's going on. And so you have to have some compassion because, for example, we all know what it feels like to get angry. I've gotten angry in my life. I know what that feels like. I know what it does. It tears everything apart. And so when I encounter someone who's, say, really in that anger place, I always send compassion out to them because I know how they feel. I know what they're going through, and I wish them the best, even if I can't help them.
Nice. So what's your next passion project? What are you working on for the future? Can you divulge any of this?
Well, the classes that I'm doing, that's really primarily what I am working on. I do have another project. Years ago, I created the nectars, and it goes back to my herbal days and my aromatherapy days. And it's been a project that's been sitting on the shelf for a while. And, I was traveling this weekend and I had a cup of tea, and on the tea bag, in fact, I'll read it for you. I opened up the tea bag and I had just taken a little bit of my nectar because it's for the immune system and I take it when I travel. And it says, settling is not an option. Tea proudly. And I said, wow, I got to get to work.
I like that. Settling isn't an option.
It isn't an option,
It's not fulfilling.
No, it's not at all, and it's important, I think, that you keep moving forward and keep growing as an individual, I mean, I'm 70, turned 70 this
No.
year. Yeah, I'm 70. Yeah. And I intend to keep going, I am not like going to stop. I'm changing, I'm shifting, but, it's important to just keep going.
It's like what I tell my husband. It's like I don't think there's such a word as retire in my because there's so many things that I do that you can just keep on doing. I paint, I teach classes, I speak, and all of that just can be a continuation until I decide I'm done.
Well, I can feel that from you. You're that type of person. You can, when you meet somebody who just doesn't have the motivation, and then you meet people who it's not work. Do you
Right.
know what I mean? You're not working, you're fulfilling something, a passion. You're doing something. People will call it work. It's not work.
Yeah.
Work is when, oh my God, I dread going to work. That's work.
Yeah. It isn't that true.
Yeah.
So this is just my passion project. My life is my passion project, and I feel that it's the same with you as well.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah.
And you know who, for me, was one of the beacons of light for that, and that was Louise Hay,
Hmm.
because she didn't start getting into her mojo of this until she was in her 60s.
Hmm. Hmm.
And she took no, take the number away. It has nothing, no bearing on anything that can be done.
Absolutely. And you know, when people get, and unfortunately, again, in this country, we tend to downgrade old people. You know, if you're not sexy and hot and young, you know, we downgrade. But you know, it's, and I'll say women, I mean, but men too, but women, when they get into their 60s, they become so beautiful and so wise. And they, you know, they just have a, it's like a turn, and you look so differently at the world. And it's like, I mean, embrace older people. They have so much to teach you, so much to share.
I agree. I so agree. And you're right that people are of a certain age, if they find out what the number is, well, then, all of a sudden the number's put to it, and now you don't have the viability you did before they knew what the number was.
Exactly, exactly. As soon as they know it, you're out. And yet you could be a very energetic 80-year-old. I was just talking to a woman in my class today, and she was telling me about her brother-in-law and sister. They're both 81 and they still do downhill skiing. And he's
I
going
love
in a
that.
competition. And I'm like, yes, you know, they're vibrant. You know, people don't, a number, it doesn't, I know people in their 30s and 40s that are old people already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like that commercial that goes on where don't become your parents.
yeah,
They did at a very young age.
exactly, exactly.
So, Lynn, we're winding up the show. What have I not brought up in terms of a conversation with you that you really would like the listening audience to hear?
Well, I think we've brought up a lot of things. I mean, I would say that, you know, and this may sound like a broken record if I repeat it, but you know, your health is the most important thing in your life. And I'm not just talking about your body. As a naturopath, we believe that your health is body, mind, and soul. And all three have to be integrated and connected together and balanced because you are all three. You're not just a body. And so those three, if you work on balancing and bringing those things together, you'll be amazed at how happy and successful you will be in your life. Because success, you don't get successful unless you've got vitality and energy, right?
Yep, that's true.
And you know, and I also would say to people, go out there and make as much money as you want, be as wealthy as you can be, but make sure that that wealth that we're creating is for education, it's for healthcare, it's for housing, it's for, you know, art, it's for all the wonderful things that wealth can do, as opposed to being greedy.
I love that. That's so important because there are so many people who are uber wealthy. And yes, they
Mhm.
have their pet charities, but they're I'm trying to figure out how to weigh, but they're limited charities. They're for a limited, very small um, purview of or scope of individuals.
Or
Mm,
it's, well, it would look good if I did this.
yeah.
You've got to give, you've got to give, and you've got to go out and you've got and create as much as you can so that there's more for everyone, because a wealthy society has so much more for people than a poor society. It's a fact. It's
Yes.
just that there's this one thing that karma teaches us that we all fall into, and it's called greed. And that's the issue. It's not making money, it's greed. Greed is the issue.
Yeah. And I love the belief that when you give, you get back tenfold.
Yeah, yeah.
And that takes it out. And that doesn't mean you have to give 50% of your earnings, though there are many people that can afford to do it, but then don't do it.
That's
I mean,
right.
I've got like 5 names on the top of my head right now, but it's not for me to stand as the judge, about it. It's people have to go into their heart and see where their heart guides them and where their empathy guides them.
Right. And karma reminds you, be very careful, because according to karma, we reincarnate. Be careful what you do, because you may have to come back and you may have to be the poor person cleaning the toilets. Might happen,
Yeah.
So pay attention to what you do, because you take with you what you create here on this earth. So if you create goodwill and you create that, you take that with you.
I'm reading Diana Cooper's, I have the book here, Angel Answers. And I'm reading the part, I just dropped it. I'm reading the part about karma. And it's yes, and it gives so much information about karma and what karma really is and how it works. But yes, you will come back. I mean, if you're, let's say, an elite, quote unquote, and you're abusive, well, you might come back as one of the abused, and somebody else is going to be doing the same to you as what you do to somebody else.
Exactly.
Or animals.
Yep, it's true. So, that's because eventually what karma means is, it means that you evolve to a point where you don't have to come back. Now that I can tell you, I'm coming back. and I've come a long way, and I'm a karma master. I've come down the road. But because we all, to be that perfected specimen, it takes tons of work. But the more you work at it, the more you know you have to work, and the more you work. That's what karma means. It means work. Doesn't mean play. It means work.
But work can be joyful. It doesn't have to be arduous.
Well, what karma is, the more you work your karma, this is the thing, is your life does get easier. Because now you've got this practical guide, and instead of being an angry person, you catch yourself at the anger, you know what it is, and you know how to backtrack and remove it. And I don't know about you, but I mean, I've been happy and I've been angry. I'll take happy any day of the week.
Any day of the week.
I
am with you. Dr. Lynn Anderson, thank you so much. It's hard to believe another hour has gone by. It goes by so quickly with you.
We'll have to do it again, Marla.
And we will.
We will.
Just so much to talk about. It's wonderful. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your information, all of your wealth of knowledge that you shared today. I'm so grateful for that.
Well, thank you very much. And really, my blessings go out to your niece. I'm sending that energy out. I know everyone else will. And thank you so much. It's really been wonderful catching up with you again, Marla.
Oh, it made my day. So thank you. I want to thank Bridget for all you do. My right arm, my left arm, I am so grateful for you each and every day. I am grateful for you, the listening audience, for taking time out of your life, out of your day, to be a part of the show. And when I say be a part of the show, you may not have written in or called in, but you're listening and you're gleaning the information that in this particular episode, Dr. Lynn Anderson is sharing with me and you, and to help you in your life's trajectory. Because our goal and our mission is to be here to be of service, to help raise your consciousness and get you on the path so you live the life that you're divinely meant to live, which is one that is filled with joy and happiness and gratitude, not lack and limiting beliefs. So know that, and I'm grateful that you tuned in. Next week's guest is Teresa Greco, who is a self-love and happiness coach. So how perfect from going into health, mental, emotional, spirit, to self-love and happiness. So please tune in next Thursday. As I leave you, as always, I send you love, blessings, and gratitude. So grateful that I'm in your life in whatever capacity I am in it. For not only are you my student, you are my teacher. And not only am I a teacher, I am a student. So we learn from each other, we teach each other, and that's sort of like the revolving way of the world. Also, I'm going to leave you with these 3 words. I love you. You are loved, not just by me, not just by family and friends, but you have so many beings on the other side of the veil that are your biggest cheerleaders and want to conspire and start working on your behalf. But here's the secret. You have to ask for it. They don't have their own free will. So until you ask for what you need, want, desire, They cannot just step in and help you. So talk to them. Ask for what you want and desire, and watch yourself manifest the most amazing life that you would ever want. So until next week, stay well,